I do not think you're ready for Scream 6. Scream 6 is 2 hours filled of Ghostface running around New York City, causing bloody carnage, mayhem to everybody in he or she's vicinity. The Scream franchise never misses. We're 6 movies in to this iconic horror franchise, and this is the most consistent slasher franchise I've ever seen. I adore Scream 6. It does have some flaws, but this movie is just a fun, bloody thrill ride. But how fun is it? How bloody is it? Let's find out in this spoiler-free review of Scream 6. I'm going to keep this review short and sweet. I think this movie is extremely entertaining. I am a big fan of Radio Silence. They made Scream 5 back in 2022, the predecessor to Scream 6. Now, I did really enjoy Scream 5, but I felt like I overhyped that movie a little bit too much. I think I was just really excited to see that film because before that, we didn't have a Scream movie for about a decade, and we finally had these new Scream movies coming out, and with Scream 6, Radio Silence officially puts their own unique stamp. My main problem with Scream 5 was that it felt like they were handcuffed to Wes Craven. They were appreciating Wes Craven a little bit too much, to the point where it felt like a parody of his movies. And it didn't really feel like they did their own thing. But with Scream 6, man, it is so unique. It's not super different from the other movies. It still has that Scooby-Doo formula to it, but they do just enough to make it different and to make it new and to make it fresh. The opening scene to Scream 6 rivals 1996's Scream. Yep, I said it. This movie is just a tension-filled ride through and through. From the opening scene all the way to the final act, this movie's just punching you straight in the face with a bloody right red hand, and it doesn't stop. This movie is 2 hours long, but yet it feels like it's 90 minutes. The best way to describe Scream 6, it's like the opening of Scream 1996 mixed with Gale's chase scene in Scream 2. If you mix those two scenes together and stretch it out into a 2-hour movie, that's Scream 6. It's just full of just crazy, nail-biting, white-knuckle scenes that are going to make you sweat. And make you sweat, and not in all the good places, in all the bad places. It's going to make you sweat very, very hard. They capture New York City very well. Now, they did film this movie in Toronto, but there are different certain sets, like the subway scene, which is so great, by the way. I'm not going to spoil anything. I'm going to be very vague. I'm going to include the things that are in the trailer so I don't spoil anything for anyone. But the subway scene is so tenseful. The characters mesh very well together. They do a great job of blending the old characters with the new characters. We get Kirby back. Hayden Panettiere is finally back as Kirby, and she is just awesome in the screen time that she gets. Gale is awesome as always, but Tara and Sam, Melissa Barrera and Jenna Ortega are phenomenal. They really bond a lot more in this film. It felt like in Scream 5, all the characters were all spread apart, but with Scream 6, it feels like they're a group trying to find out who Ghostface is. It feels like everything in this movie, all the plot points, the story, the way they're navigating through it, it feels purposeful. It doesn't feel like they're checking off a box, okay, we have to have an opening kill, we have to have this, we have to have that. With Scream 6, the characters naturally progress through the plots, and I think that was a main issue with Scream 5 for me. It just felt like everything felt like it was staged. It didn't feel natural. It was like characters show up and they do stuff, and then a character dies, and then more characters show up and they do stuff. But with this, they move more as one cohesive unit, and I appreciated that. It made it easier to follow. You weren't really bouncing around everywhere. It was very streamlined, which made this movie very digestible. While the plot is predictable, it doesn't deviate too much from what we know and love, which is a little bit of disappointment from me. I wanted them to do a little bit something different with this film, but they do enough. They do enough to be different. It's not anything drastic, but they just have little tweaks here and there that I really, really appreciated. I thought it was just so refreshing to see more violent kills, because Ghostface is known as a clumsy type of killer. He walks around with a buck 120 and just stabs people. That's kind of his MO. But with this one, Ghostface is nothing to fucking play with. I mean, he is scary. There is scenes in here where it's like, holy shit, Ghostface is gonna get through that fucking door, and there's nothing you can do about it. One of the main standout characters for me was Chad. He just had such a sweet, warming charisma about him. I really liked him in Scream 5. I mentioned that in my review last year, but he didn't get a lot of screen time. Here, he's fleshed out way better. He has some very good comedic reliefs. He's kind of the new Dewey, if you want to say that. Spoiler alert, Dewey does die in Scream 5, sorry. But he kind of takes over that character a little bit. He feels like that kind of goofy type of not goofy from Scary Movie, but that type of goofy character that just has that tension relief where he has that little bit of a break in between kills. You know, you'll go to one scene where it's just crazy tension filled, and then it'll cut to Chad, who has a funny joke or has a very sweet remark. I loved this character through and through. I thought he was one of the best characters in this movie. Roger L. Jackson just kills it with his sexy voice. I mean, is there a sexier voice on planet Earth than Ghostface? I don't think so. There are so many Easter eggs in this movie. There are so many callbacks to Scream 2, to Scream 4, to Scream 1. If you're a Legacy fan, if you've been around for a while, if you've been watching Scream movies forever like me, you will definitely catch it. If you're a newbie, if you haven't really watched a lot of Scream movies, it might fly over your head a little bit, but I love just the little Easter eggs that they put in there. Obviously, Radio Silence cares about this franchise so much, and it's definitely evident by just the little eggs they drop in there. We're going to talk about one thing, is that Sydney is not in this movie, and honestly, I was very skeptical about it. How can you make a Scream movie without Sidney Prescott? But this movie feels like it does enough to where I didn't even really think about her. There was not one point during this runtime where I was like, oh yeah, Sydney's not in this movie. I was just so focused on the task at hand, at trying to capture Ghostface, trying to find out who Ghostface is. I was so enthralled with this crazy pacing that this movie has, it made me forget about all that. And the killer or killers reveal was probably my least favorite part about this movie. I thought that it was a bit predictable. In the motive itself, I found not the most interesting motive. It's definitely not one of my favorite motives that there is for Ghostface. I really like Jill's motive in Scream 4. I really love Billy motives in Scream 1, but I thought it was okay. It didn't kill the movie for me or anything, but if we're talking about the weakest part of this film, unfortunately for me, it is the finale. I still loved like 95% of this movie. It's just towards the end, I was like, okay, they're kind of doing the same old song and dance. It's different enough. And I know they were kind of promoting that, like, this Ghostface is different and darker and creepier. And yes, he or she is, but it just didn't really do enough from a story standpoint to stand out and be like, oh yeah, Scream 6 is just like a crazy deviation from the franchise. I'm not trying to say I want to see them do time travel or anything, but I did want them to go into a direction to where, fuck man, I can't spoil this movie. I'm gonna stop here. But anyway, I love Scream 6. I'm a huge Scream fan, and to see this franchise continue to strive and continue to make sequel after sequel and make quality sequel after sequel, it's just awesome for me. I really enjoy this movie, and I cannot wait for you guys to see Scream 6. I'm going to give Scream 6 an 8.5 out of 10. I think Scream 6 is just a lot of fun. Go out and see this with your friends. Go out and see this movie in 3D, which is going to be fucking awesome. Seeing this in 3D, holy shit. I mean, wow, I'm just sorry. I'm getting a little bit too much hyped up, but I have a lot of passion for this franchise, and I'm sure you guys feel the same way. And man, okay, I need to stop talking. Anyway, have you guys seen Scream 6 yet? What are your thoughts about Scream 6? Let me know down in that comment section down below. And if you like horror movies, make sure you slash that subscribe button to get more horror movie content. With that being said, I will see you beautiful people in the next video. Peace.